Alright guys, so today I have a pretty exciting video for you. It's about a game that I've had my eyes on and I'm paying attention very closely because it's a game that conceptually interests me very much. And it's not even because I like games like DayZ or have ever even played them. I mean, the reason for this is because DayZ, every time I consider playing it, I look at the jankiness and the graphics and how it performs, and like when you shoot somebody or hit somebody, that like small delay that happens before you even know that they got hit or go down. I find that too agonizing, and that's partially the reason why I find this game, Silent North, so exciting, is because this won't just be a janky mod of a game that turned into another game. Because for all of you who don't know, DayZ is actually an Arma 3 mod that got really popular and grew into its own game. But with that, they could never get it good enough for it to intrigue me. But the idea of DayZ is extremely exciting. I love the thought of DayZ, and it being a dedicated game in VR is massively tempting for me to pick up when Silent North does drop. Now, I just wanted to make this quick video because we do have such limited information on when this game is coming out and what it's going to be like. Also, we have zero actual in-game gameplay footage, essentially. There's some footage of like skyboxes and like the map and stuff, but we don't actually see any gameplay, any shooting, any zombies. All we have is this minute-long cinematic pre-alpha footage to work from. But I spent an hour and 20 minutes going through the Ruff Talk radio interview with Elysia, the lead developer for this game, and he just so happens to be the man, the myth, the legend behind all the weapons, all of the items in Ghost of Tabor. He does all the armor, he does all the guns, he develops all that stuff for us to enjoy in Ghost of Tabor currently. So just to give it a bit of a backstory, Combat Waffle Studios, the developers behind Ghost of Tabor, are also developing two other games, one being Grim, which is going to be a Rust in VR, and of course this game that I'm talking about today, Silent North, which is going to emulate the ever so popular DayZ. Now I'm going to make this video as quickly as possible because I want to go through some important things that we do know about this game and my opinions and speculations on what we should pull from it. I'm going to run through their fact sheet on their Discord, and currently that is the most updated source of information we have so far, besides their Twitter page, which has like the things they're working on, a few assets in games like barns and handcuffs, which is kind of exciting. That's probably because that's always been a mentioned feature to bring to Ghost of Tabor, but yeah, no, they probably won't. They'll be in Silent North. So starting with, what is Silent North? And we only have short answers here in this Discord. There's a lot of mystery behind the development of this game right now. Silent North is VR's only open world survival game, inspired by a modified DayZ experience and a mask. So from the Rough Talk radio that I saw with Elysia, it's looking like it's going to be set in the Swiss Alps. What's really cool about that, and what they were talking about, was in the south of the map you're going to have open farmland, more open spaces to settle and scavenge, and as you move further north there's going to be more hazards such as colder weather, higher elevation, more enemies, but you're going to have higher loot spawns, things like that. Elijah's vision for the game is that the game is so difficult that you are tempted to actually team up with random survivors out in the open world, as so that there's power in numbers and y'all can move through the north of the map fighting wilderness, extreme cold, and other players to overcome all odds. As you can imagine, this is an extremely intriguing concept, especially being in a VR game. This won't be like Ghost of Tabor when you die you go back to a bunker where you've collected gear. This will be a long form open world freestyle game where you could spend hours and hours and even days grinding for gear and building up your survival equipment, and if you die you just start over again. The stakes are going to be far higher, which means players are going to be far more hesitant to engage each other and be more willing to work together to survive against the game's environment and possibly other rotten players. It's going to be a highly social game, and that's really interesting. Now that brings us to a little tidbit number 2, which is, when is the estimated time for alpha testing? All it says here is summer of 2024. Now in the Rough Talk radio, which of course I will link in the description section below, he says that he expects this to be out sometime in September. This interview was conducted in February, so around 6 months later I'm making this video, and there has been no word or change to that estimated date of arrival. I don't know if that date of arrival will be early alpha or early beta testing, a closed beta version of the game. I assume it will be, because they do have an application section on their Discord channel, and I assume they're going to do early early testing within that application. I am getting word that you must be 18 plus to test this. I'm not sure why, but maybe that's a normal thing. I will be signing up for this and definitely will get in on this and let you know my thoughts once it happens. Since we're talking about timelines, on the 15th, there's going to be a big VR showcase, and Silent North is said to be showing new things there, such as videos. I assume they're going to have some dates for us. So keep an eye out for that. I'm going to figure out what the hell this VR event will be. Of course, I'll put all of their socials in the description section of this video also. That brings us to number 4. What platforms are planned at this time for support? Of course, Meta, which would be Quest 2 and Quest 3. It'll be fully standalone for Quest 2, Steam, PSVR 2, and Pico. The big 4, of course. Number 5, will there be base building? There will not be base building. There will be building fortifications of existing structures in the world, chains, padlocks, things like that. Kind of like DayZ from what I've seen, even though I don't know much about DayZ. Like I said, I've never spent too many hours in that game. I assume it's going to be something similar to that. What engine will Silent North be developed on? It says here Unreal Engine 5. Unreal Engine 5 is currently the latest and most impressive gaming engine we currently have, which is extremely exciting because I think Ghost of Tabor isn't on Unreal Engine 5. It's just on Unreal Engine or some sort of generic version of that engine. And this being on Unreal Engine 5 specifically, I don't know what that means or if that's going to be different or if it's just going to be on a better optimized engine, but that'll be really interesting. This game looks like it's going to be a bit of like a poly graphical type of game, so not as demanding as say like Ghost of Tabor with like more, they're trying to go for more realism type graphics, you could say, at a bit of a long shot, but this is going for more poly graphics, so it'll be less demanding and be able to support more players in a map that'll be a far bigger size than anything in Ghost of Tabor. Will the game be cross-platform? Simply, it says yes. Will there be vehicles? Vehicles are not planned for launch, but have been discussed for both post-launch, possibly. I'd imagine eventually they'll have some sort of way to get vehicles. They'll be really busted, broken down. You have to get gas. They won't be like an easy thing to use, but when you get one, it should be like very advantageous for you and your squad. Will there be wildlife? Yes, there will be predatory and non-predatory wildlife, I assume for hunting and things you have to defend yourself against when you're out into the wild. Will there be non-playable characters? Yes, there will be zombies and non-playable NPCs. I assume probably people you can go to shops for, maybe other NPC factions you have to fight against. That I'm a little more doubtful, but if they do exist, that will definitely add more of a dynamic to the game. What platforms can I be a playtester on? And that says to be determined. I will assume this is going to be a MetaQuest, but if not, definitely Valve or any sort of PC VR headset. How can I be a playtester? That also says to be determined. I would just keep an eye on their socials and their Discord, mainly X and yes, their official Discord Silent North server. How much will Silent North cost? Also to be determined. I assume anywhere from $20 to $25. I would even assume it could be a bit of a jump up from there, being that it's Combat Waffle Studios. They are starting to make a name for themselves, and demand does beg for supply. But for now, I'm going to assume anywhere from 20, 25, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was 30 bucks. Now, a few interesting points that I did pick up from the interview that Ruff Talk Radio did with Elysia that would be more than worth mentioning here would be how many people are going to be in a specific server or on a specific map at a single time. Elysia said he'd be happy from anywhere from 50 to 100 people. Now, to give you more of an idea of the spectrum, he wants this map to be around 15 square kilometers in diameter, which would be his minimum expectation, anywhere from 15 to 30, which is huge. To give you an idea, Island Tabor is anywhere from like 1 to about 5, I think he was saying. So it's like 1 to 5 in the long way, maybe 3. I forget, his mic was cutting out when he was talking about that. So it'll be around like 10 times to 15 times bigger than Island of Tabor, just to give you a scope of things for all of you Tabor enthusiasts out there. Another very notable thing I found very useful for us as a player base is that it seems like they will release the game in an early state, just how they did with Ghost of Tabor. Now, the reason they're considering doing this is because they've done this with Ghost of Tabor. They said the feedback from us as a player base was extremely valuable to them in the development of their game. I also assume they're doing this because it worked for Ghost of Tabor and they're just going to do the same thing with this game. And that seems to be the MO of games these days. They release in an unfinished state and it's up to us as a community to talk with the developers about the issues with their games and what we would prefer in a game like this. A game like this being so open to different play styles and different types of players in a freedom type setting where you're only required to survive. I do see this as being very valuable to not only developers but the player base of what should be in this game, because balancing for these types of games is extremely important for their longevity and how fun they're going to be when we play them. Elysia, being the man that develops all of the gear and weapons in Ghost of Tabor, is obviously doing this in Silent North, and ultimately he says he wants wants the gear to be less tedious than, say, Tarkov. I assume what he means by this is the gear will be really similar to what we have already in Ghost of Tabor. Ghost of Tabor is going to get very complex with their modular weapons and armor degradation and weapon degradation and weapon part degradation even. They're going to have silencer degradation as well. Silent North will not have that. So I assume it's going to be like what Tabor has. You're just going to have some basic attachments you'll find out in the world, be able to slap onto an M4 or any other weapon you tend to get your hands on, and maybe some basic armor clothing that by the sounds of it will not degrade. Maybe certain things will, just to, you know, help with the realism and help with your maintenance of equipment a little bit, but not going to be the extent of Escape from Tarkov. So you can kind of assume that. So far, that's about all the information I have for you and all that we know. I'm going to keep my eyes and ears out for any more information that we can get on this game. And like I said, on the 15th, there's going to be a VR showcase with this game involved, and I highly assume that they're going to release some dates for us then. Not estimated dates, exact dates for the early beta testing. And hopefully a new like video and showcase of the game. Hopefully some in-game footage of them killing some zombies and stuff or playing together online. If I've provided any value to you, viewer, please have yourself a good day. Consider subscribing and hit the like button. It helps me out massively being the small channel that I am, and I'll see you around.